Welcome back for another video, guys. Thanks for joining me. Today we're finally going to tackle the sunroof headliner fabric on the E36 over there. Now the only prep I did so far was pull the fabric down off of the little plate inside the car, which I'll show you in a minute, and then I pulled off this trim here, which I don't even think is completely necessary, but I pulled it off just to give us a little bit extra working room. And let's get into fixing this thing.
Hi guys, voiceover Chris here. First thing you gotta do, get in the car and obviously close the sunroof because we're going to be working on the panel underneath the sunroof. Then what you have to do is press the button ever so slightly just to get the sunroof to open just a little bit. And in this clip, that's actually too much. And in these next clips, you'll see me struggle a little bit, but interior pry tool, try to get that to push back. In this next little time lapse, you'll see me, I reset the sunroof, then drop it ever so slightly. Then I'm able to get the panel back, and let's go back to real life Chris.
Now there's three 17mm nuts that you got to take off. 1, 2, and 3 over here. Then there's going to be some torque screws in there somewhere, which I got to figure out what size it even has to be, but I'll let you guys know.
So obviously right now we're taking off those three 17mm nuts, and now we're starting to look in the little crevice there by turning our head to the side in a flashlight and struggling to get to these little screws here. But they are T20 Torx bits. There's only 2 of them, 1 on each side. And then we'll go for a little bit of an explanation back with real life Chris.
I actually had my wife help me lift out the sunroof when it was done, but if you look here, there's one of these tabs on each side, and we took off the 17mm nuts that was holding the back end of the sunroof on. Then this was the Torx bit. It's a T20, one here and one there. Then you just have to, you lift the sunroof up from the back and you just have to like press this out a little bit, and it pops this tab off of the sunroof, and then you can lift it out. Also, these things, as you see, I put tape on it. You could slide this left and right to adjust how high your sunroof sits. So if your sunroof isn't sitting flush when we put it back on, you could adjust this just to get it to sit up. If it's too high or too low, just adjust it. But I put tape to kind of hold it in the right spot. Now we're going to start working on the panel.
Then just slide the panel forward. Very simple. Then there's 5 T20 Torx screws on each side, which is kind of funny because there's more screws holding this in than the actual sunroof itself. But take those out, pop it out. Then moving over to the workbench, I decided, you know what, let me just clean this thing up as much as possible. Got some simple green to wipe the crud off. This is the top side that's actually this piece touching the sunroof panel itself. And we just wiped it down. Now we got to get all this crap, foam, whatever you want to call it, off of the actual underside panel that we're going to be gluing the fabric back to. So threw some goof off on there, wiped it. Didn't really seem to do much. Like, it did a little bit, but not enough. So trying to think of other ideas. So I put a Scotch-Brite pad on a little grinder, and it seems to be getting all the foam off, but not like the little adhesive glue stuff. So we're going to have to figure out something else here. So I took a wire wheel, put it on a drill, did that. It kind of just like moved the stuff around. Like, it might have made it a little bit better, but decided to try goof off again. And as I wiped that off, I decided, hey, maybe I didn't let it sit on there enough. So poured a nice big section on there, let it sit long enough. And then it actually started to peel the stuff back. So did a nice coating of goof off, and the glue started to lift off. So let's wipe this down. So the second layer of goof off seemed to work pretty good, so I just simple greened it down, rubbed it with the stiff bristle brush, did the wire wheel again, and I got it good enough for myself. I'm happy with it. I don't feel like messing with it anymore. So that's what we look like. Now it's time to move to the fabric. Took that brush, started wiping it. It was taking the crap off, but it was making a complete mess, so I decided to turn the camera off and go outside to do this so I didn't destroy the garage.
All right, so I might give this another, that looks worse on camera now that I'm looking at it. I might give that another once over with the brush, a stiff bristled brush to get the rest of that crap off. This, I think I'm just going to leave it like this. I was going to give it another go with the Goo Gone, but I think it's fine. There's only a couple spots, and it didn't take it all off anyway. I was sitting in the sun to dry off, and it's very hot right now. So let me stop touching that. Not too bad. Now, if we look at the shape of this, you see how it's got the ridges. I guess that's for more sturdiness, stability, or whatever. But the original stuff that was on it was like kind of like, I don't know if you were able to tell, it's kind of like a gluish film type thing that was over it, and between that, I guess that's what was at the bottom of that, with like that little foam that's been deteriorating, falling over all over the place, they were able to pull it nice and tight over this, is what I'm assuming. This is my first E36. I'm not sure how it was supposed to look, but I would assume it was like this, that they pull it nice and tight and it just nice one smooth piece. So I'm not going to be able to do that anymore. I have this stuff. I will link it down below. It's automotive headliner adhesive. So I'm going to be spraying that on here and on the fabric and just pulling it tight. And I think what I'm going to do is not put any in this section and just try to pull it tight and then glue this section, skip over this, and then glue this section. So hopefully we can get a nice smooth look, because it's not going to be 100% because you don't have that foam stuff that was at the bottom of that. Hopefully it'll look like this, but I'm not going to do it right now because I got to run to the store very shortly. I might try to wait for my wife to help, just to have an extra set of hands to try to get this to lay nice and flat. So we'll be right back. And we're back. So I decided, let me just try to send this. This is the next day. Nothing is glued as of yet, but I got this placed in where I think it's going to go. I put this magnet on it to hold it in place so I don't have to worry about it as much because I don't have an extra set of hands to do it. I was looking for other magnets, but this is the one I actually use. It's usually on here on my toolbox and it holds like bits like this for me. So yeah.
So let's get to adhering the fabric to the sunroof headliner panel piece. Using that adhesive spray, it actually worked out pretty good. It was laying pretty flat. I was able to get the whole piece to look like one solid piece by skipping those like embedded, indented sections, and it was laying pretty flat, but I was having a little bit of trouble with the very edges of everything. So you'll see in this next piece of time lapse here that I was actually using the contact cement that I used in the shift boot video, which I will link in the top corner if you want to watch that one, just to try to get the edges of this fabric so it didn't peel back prematurely, and just throwing some painter's tape on it to hold everything in place while it dried.
All right, so a few things with this. Extra set of hands would be nice. A new piece of fabric would be nice because I couldn't get the edges really flat. I tried to iron it yesterday to get it flat, but the very end of it was curled up, and it gave me a little bit of a issue at the edges here. Got a little glue, little spray adhesive on here. Hopefully I could get that off afterwards. This is the front side of it, so I probably should have started with the back since this was my first time doing this, just to get a little bit of practice. But as you see, turned out all right. Not the best, not the worst. These little ridges here, I couldn't really do anything about it other than putting, I guess, like a piece of tape on it just to bridge the gap. You'll see this, but they do sell new ones, but I'm not gonna buy a new one for this. Just a little bit of time and some spray adhesive. I did use some contact cement, which probably isn't the right thing for it, just to get the edges of all the fabric down. We'll see how that turns out, but if this starts to peel down eventually, we could just redo it. But I'm gonna let this sit for a while to completely dry before we try to install it. So doing the reverse of that was a complete pain in the ass, but we got it back in. Got the two T20 Torx bits on the front on that little like hinge thing, and then we have the three 17 millimeters underneath here. It's still dropped right now because we had to drop it ever so slightly to get the panel back. So I guess we're gonna push it back to the front, because before we put the panel on, I want to check it, because I moved those little things. Even though I put the tape on it, I moved them so the sunroof might not be flush. So we're gonna deal with doing that first. And we're flush.
So you're just going to slide the panel forward, but make sure the sunroof is dropped ever so slightly again, just like you did at the beginning. What it takes is a pretty firm yank to get it to pop forward. It took me a little bit. I struggled a little bit, but of course when we turn the cameras off is the time I got it to pull forward. Give it a quick test. Reinstall your trim. And enjoy.
So that's it for me. As you saw in the video, this isn't a hard thing to do. It's just annoying to do. So word of advice, just have an extra set of hands to help you out, especially putting the sunroof back in. Taking it out, you could get away with doing it yourself. putting the sunroof back would make your life a whole lot easier having an extra set of hands. I thought I would actually be able to prop the sunroof up almost at a 90 degrees and get that little hinge thing to pop in place, but that doesn't go up enough. So you kind of have to just get up there, turn your head, and just struggle. So if you want to do this yourself, I'm going to leave all the products I use down below with Amazon links. Use those links. It helps the channel out. It helps to continue doing videos like this. Hopefully you learned something, and yeah. So we're back in the car to finish it out. I think it turned out pretty good. Let me know what you think down below. I will see you guys in the next one. Hit that subscribe button. Hit that like button. Share the video if you want. Any questions, leave them down below in the comments. I will see you guys in the next one. Peace out.